Happy Thursday, 5th grade. Today we're going to talk about third person now. So this week we have talked about first person, second person, and now today we'll talk about third person. Okay? So we're going to start today talking about the definition, what is third person, and then what are a few signs. Third person is a little bit interesting because there's actually two different kinds of third person point of view, and we'll talk about those today too. Okay? So first, the definition for third person. The narrator is not in the story. Okay, so the narrator, the person who is telling the story, is not actually part of the story. There's somebody who is watching from afar. Okay, so the narrator who is telling the story is not actually inside of the story. They're not a character. Okay, a few signs that we see. We see he, she, it, they, a few other ones too, his, hers, and then we'll say etc., which means a lot of other ones as well. Okay, so we're seeing these pronouns here because the narrator is talking about somebody who is in the story because the narrator is not. All right, so the narrator might be talking about the main character saying he, like Stanley, in Holes. That's actually in third person. The narrator says, Stanley, he was hungry. His hands had blisters on them. Things like that, right? Also, in Holes, she, the warden, was wearing cowboy boots. She had a cowboy hat on, right? So we see a lot of he, she, and a lot of these other pronouns here as well. Okay? All right. Like I said, third person is a little bit interesting. And the reason why is because there's actually two different kinds. There's omniscient and there's limited. Okay? So first we will do omniscient. Here's the definition of third person omniscient. Okay, that's how you say that word, omniscient. So the narrator knows what all the characters are thinking and feeling. All right, I'm going to make this a little wider there. Okay, so the narrator knows what all of the characters are thinking and feeling. All right, so the narrator is not in the story, and they're able to see inside of all of the characters' head. They can see what they're thinking and what they're feeling. Okay? Okay, give you an example here. Everyone at thought that the Domino's pizza so good. All right, so everyone at lunch thought that the Domino's pizza was so good. If you guys remember last year when there was Domino's pizza for lunch, that was awesome, wasn't it? So everyone at lunch thought that the Domino's pizza was so good. Now the narrator knows what all of the characters are thinking and feeling because everybody at lunch was thinking something about the Domino's pizza, and the narrator knows that. So this is an omniscient, third person omniscient here. Okay, limited. It's very similar to omniscient, except the narrator knows what's only one character is thinking or feeling. Okay, this may be like in a story where the main character, we get to see inside of their head and we know what they feel, but we don't know what everybody else feels. That would be third person limited. Okay. All right, I'm going to move on here. Remember, you could always pause if you need any extra time. So an example here. Stanley felt like he missed home, and he wondered if the other campers did too. Okay, so we know what Stanley is feeling. We know that he misses home, but we don't know what anybody else is feeling. We don't know if any of the other characters miss home too. Now we know that this is in third person because the narrator, the person who's telling you this sentence, they're not in the story, right? Stanley is the main character. He's not the one who's talking. The narrator is. So we have words like he, but this is third person limited because we only know what Stanley is feeling, and that's it. Okay. Now, if you need to pause to finish up these notes here, do that right now. What we're going to do today is do a few practices. I am going to do the first one for you, and then I want you to do the other two on your own. Okay. So, what you're going to do for these slides here is you are going to circle which one this is. Is this limited or omniscient? And remember, limited is when we only know one person's feelings and thoughts. Omniscient is when we know everybody's feelings and thoughts. Here we go. Alexander slowly opened the door and tiptoed down the hall. He was so hungry. His mom was sleeping and he didn't want to wake her up. Alexander made himself a bowl of cereal and sat down to eat. Okay, so in the story here, we know there's two characters, Alexander and his mom, but we don't know what's going on in his mom's head, right? We don't know what she's feeling or thinking, and as a matter of fact, she's asleep. Of course we don't know what she's thinking. She's not thinking anything. So we do know what Alexander is feeling. He feels hungry. He feels like he doesn't want to wake her up. And so what we do know is that this is third person, and who can we see inside their head for their thoughts and feelings? Only Alexander. So go to shapes, do a circle here. We know that this is limited, right? Because we only get to see inside of one person's head. All right. I'm going to go back up here to the fill color. Change that. I'm going to change the border color too because it's kind of boring. There we go. So this first one here, this is limited. What I want you to do is I want you to go on and I want you to do these next two on your own. Okay? If you have any questions, please let me know.